We're going to combine together a few of the techniques we just looked at for context in tests. So let's say that we want to add a little bit of context to our bucket. Maybe we want to add a tag based on the environment. Whoops. So let's do tags.of, then our construct, which is the bucket. Let's add a tag, and we're going to add the tag environment, and we can base that off of a value read from context. So we can do this.node.tryGetContext, and then if you like, you can prefix it with your organization's identifier, or you could just use the word environment or something similar. And I'll give that a quick format. And there we go. And then we're going to add a tag to the bucket based on the this value read from context. And obviously normally we would change our CDK.json, but we don't have a CDK.json in the tests. We don't have any context. So how can we verify that this is going to do the right thing? Let's pop over to our test setup. You can see I removed all the existing tests, and then we can say it sets the environment tag based on our context. And then let's open up that test body, and let's use the captures that we had to play around with before. So we could say our tags equals new capture, and then we can do template dot has resource properties AWS S3 bucket, and then the properties we're going to be looking for is in tags, but in this case we're going to use the capture that we've got here. All right, and then after we've done that, we can expect tags dot as object, or is it an array? Sorry, it's an array actually. I think the tags object on the bucket resource to equal, and then I think the structure is going to look a little bit like this, but we'll have to double check. And let's go ahead and say we're in the staging environment. So that's going to fail, or we would expect it to fail at least, because we've got no context set up. Oops, I've got a couple of bits that have been imported and aren't used, so we're failing the build there. So let's clean those up and let's run test again. Okay, there we go, and it says tag must have a value, so it failed to build the construct. So how do we get that context in there? So if we go up to our stack level, we can do stack.node, and then we can do set context, and let's copy the context key, and then we can give it a value like staging, and then we can run the test again. And there we go, it passes. So we attached some context up to the root level here, up to the stack level in our test. We use that in the construct itself by using this.node.tryGetContext, and then we attached a bucket tag using tags.of, the tags aspect. In the test case, rather than asserting the value is going to be something, we used a capture instead. So we set it up beforehand, we popped it into the value that we're looking for, and then after the fact, after this had run, we can then use one of the as methods. So we used as array in this case on the capture to find the value that was passed into it, or that was seen, we should say. And then we checked what it was using a regular jest assertion. So there's one quick thing I'll add on here, just on a note of context, is in the other lesson, the sort of main lesson on context, we talked about some of the caveats of doing it this way versus passing things into the properties of a construct or properties of a stack. So if you've forgotten about that, or you haven't seen the context lesson yet, I would suggest you go and review that just quickly, so you can talk about the trade-offs of where you fetch the context.